Oh boy, this is gonna be a doozy. How do I start this? Okay.
A little hippity hoppity, little hippity hoppity, little hippity hoppity, a little hippity hoppity roll. Well, suddenly.
Let me preface this by saying I'm not a commentary channel. While animation and cartoons are the things I really want to talk about, sometimes a situation arises where I want to talk about something outside of that, or I feel that no one else is saying something that should be said, or discussed, or explored. It's easy to convince yourself that by doing this kind of thing, all you're doing is perpetuating drama. And I've felt like that for a while. I felt like a bad person for using the platform I have to discuss anything like this, despite its size. It took for Pan Pizza, one of my biggest inspirations on YouTube, to make his video on Waffsicle for me to realize that I can actually do this. If I have the ability to do something, I should. And that's why I'm making this video. The commentary community on YouTube is one that's been gaining a lot of relevance on the wider scope of it, one that's definitely been hard to ignore as of recent, especially with the several amount of controversies spawned from said community's most negative aspects, such as bandwagoners and people out to cause trouble for others, for a taste of recognition and relevance. While I would be remiss to say that not all of them are like this, there are a lot of common traits within the community. I'd like to start off with the smaller ones before getting into the bigger problems. Discussion of popular topics within the commentary community tends to become a very large echo chamber. If one larger creator makes a popular video about an ongoing controversy, it's very likely for a multitude of smaller creators to try and cash in on that. Though because they don't have the same amount of interest in the topic or controversy, the points are almost identical to one another, and they all begin to blend together with similar reactions in very similar videos. They're like lemmings falling off the cliff down into the drama rabbit hole. One common critique of the Storytime animators during their whole controversy was that a lot of them were the same, and that it was a community full of clones. Which in retrospect is funny, because that could very well be applied to the majority of this community. Now, saying this about both communities is wrong, it's a generalization, but it's very easy for someone who isn't interested in these creators or their content to see it this way. It's why the commentary community is usually made fun of on social media. It's what they look like to outsiders. I wouldn't even be surprised if some schmuck screen caps this thumbnail or a part of the video and posts it somewhere. Yeah, I see you. Close that sniffing tool. There are commentary creators that I generally enjoy watching, because they feel more like they're talking about the things that really interest them, because, well, they are. They aren't reporters on the flavor of the week drama. These videos and their creators have substance to them. The videos aren't just informative, they're interesting, they're entertaining. Most of the copycat commentary channels lack any of this. They tend to give minimal insight to their thoughts on a topic, and since the subject of the video is usually a person or an incident, the substance is usually pulled from the absurdity of the situation. Humor is usually at the subject's expense. You're meant to find shortcomings, contradictions, and flaws as funny. And don't get me wrong, a statement can be so ridiculous that it's funny, but most of these videos are constantly using this as a way to be funny, and they use statements that aren't even that extreme and treat them the same way. It's either this or irony. Irony can be funny if exaggerated or used to highlight the absurdity in reality. But these days the extent of the joke is, I don't mean it.
Ah, good. A weird, lonely, socially inept man is going to be explaining what it is like to grow up like a little girl. Well, I guess their interest in My Little Pony and dating prepubescent boys will be one thing in common.
One thing that I'll say right off the bat, Tumblr.
It's also an easy way out of saying something dodgy. Insults and ad hominem attacks or controversial jokes are also easy ways for cheap laughs. A good channel will know how to use actual humor effectively and appropriately. I know humor is subjective, but if the actual situation in and of itself isn't humorous but is the punchline, well, it's not really a joke, nor is it all that funny.
I can't believe they let that get past the censors. For those of you who don't get the joke, the joystick is a metaphor for penis.
Is it? Is it really? Now that we've gotten these smaller issues out of the way, I want to address the biggest problems within this community by also talking about its biggest personalities. You might have guessed who I'll be talking about considering the role in the thumbnail. Quick note, I was going to talk about Just a Robot, but I cut that section out because I found it irrelevant and in retrospect kinda dumb, so,
Penis.
While these individual problems are present in most of the community, I feel it's more effective if I use the ones with the most recognition and notoriety in the community as an example. If the previous section was the starter, this here's the main course. Let's dig in. This may seem a bit far-fetched to some, but I would consider Ellis Mark and Turkey Tom to be the poster boys for this type of commentary video. I mean, the snarky cartoon avatar was clearly inspired by their own avatars. Tom has also been one of the most notable commentators, having been in a few controversies of his own. When it comes to drama and debates, I feel that a very important aspect of it is understanding perspective. Not just that there's more than one side to every story, but that people interpret situations and actions differently. So here's the thing. I fucking hate LS Mark. Out of the two, Mark is probably the biggest offender of this. His Quinton Reviews video frames Quinton as this egotistical, self-righteous hypocrite. I'm not saying Quinton didn't do things wrong. He did. But Mark treats him as a fallen titan. I'm gonna use a bit of this video to discuss the perspective dilemma.
After a while he came to Tom and told him that it wasn't anything personal, and he just wanted to distance himself from people like him because they're quote-unquote toxic. He then went further to try excuse the shoutout by commenting on Mr. Enter's video with, "I knew Tom for a while. He used to email me art when he was just starting out, and I shouted him out once. But I've not been happy with where he's been taking his channel, and I can't really openly support him anymore." Which is strange when you take into consideration that Tom never really took his channel in a different direction. You shouted him out as a commentary channel, and what do you know, he's still a commentary channel.
With Quinton's attempt to distance himself from Tom and the community, Mark fails to consider that maybe from Quinton's perspective, Tom has changed. Maybe seeing him involved in more drama could be why.
He also fails to understand that he himself is a commentary channel, with videos about Leafy is here, Grade A Undered, Channel Awesome, knockoff YouTubers, all videos commenting on other channels.
Quinton's style of commentary and his style in general is very different to Tom's. And even if Mark doesn't see that, it should be noticed that the two videos shown here on the right are not only videos Quinton regrets, they're also videos from 2 years ago, and it's not hard to imagine his feelings on the videos have changed over time. The videos on the left are a part of his Fallen Titan series, and the content and the style is different. They're treated more as informative history videos, unlike Tom's, which are more focused on issues, problems, and drama. Stuff like his The Problems With series. Quinton's PewDiePie tweets also highlight this.
Now, I don't really give a shit about politics, so here's all I'll say. Having Ben on Meme Review doesn't humanize his platform because they don't even mention his platform in the video. But I'm not calling for him to be banned. No, you're just calling for him to be ostracized because he has different opinions than you. Now, if I didn't know any better, wouldn't that make you a bigot?
Again, Mark didn't consider Quinton's perspective, one which more recently has become more common. Mark says he doesn't give a shit about politics, but if you're gonna talk about something, even briefly, wouldn't it be a good idea to do some small research to understand Quinton's thoughts? This perspective dilemma causes Quinton to be overly demonized in Mark's videos. Demonization is a very big problem in this community, usually when a person makes a mistake, or a lot of mistakes, but sometimes happening as a result of just a general dislike of the person. An example of this is Tom in his Storytime Animator video. There are multiple moments in this video where this happens, namely with Spetchy. Speechy? Spetchy? Spoochy. But the example I'm using is with Tabs and her rap. This clip is from Quinn Curio's video on the commentary community and their criticism of Storytime Animators, which is a really great video that I recommend you watch.
And after receiving criticism from Daft, Tabs blocked him on Twitter, not for harassment, but on the sole basis that he was being critical in his video. And she tried to justify that people should ignore his criticism in her Nice track, saying that his videos are
them and their subjective commentary.
Hey, out of curiosity, do you guys want to see 6 more seconds of context to Tab's rap? I didn't even question it at first. I assumed she was casting Daft as a mindless hater. But as I edited this video, I realized Turkey Tom, The Right Opinion, and who knows how many others all cut the clip in the exact same way, and I got suspicious.
And I know it, believe me, being compared to those of a par. You're not alone on this, understand? The pressure's just bizarre. Whose approval is necessary? Daft, the Virgin Mary? So-called experts, them and their subjective commentary.
Yeah, now it's a line about how the critics are causing them anxiety, and that's because they are aware of them.
By using the clip like this, it makes Tabs look bad. Whether it's intentional or not, it's still very damaging to the person on the receiving end. A similar thing happened between Mark and Veridis Joe, who's a friend of mine and Mark's. Mark was misinformed, but that wasn't the only thing wrong in the situation, which he failed to realize at the time. Instead of talking to Joe or even think about any other perspective, he decided that Joe had to have been a hypocrite, and made the situation worse by tweeting about it. Demonizing is a problem, not just because it ignores the circumstances and perspectives of the individual, it also gives the audience this twisted view of the person on the receiving end. Even though that was pointed out by several people how Joe was right in the situation, a fan of Mark still decided to insult Joe, telling him to take Mark's criticism. Creators may not control their audience, but they can certainly influence them, especially the audience of a commentator, whose channel is heavily based on criticism. I'll talk about that more later. Mark's difficulty with perspective and how quick he is to demonize people is highlighted by his Game Grumps video. He wants to paint this narrative of Aaron Hansen as a manipulative cunt, so he'll make a claim and not back it up with anything. And it's easy to defend, because it's still possible. There's nothing to prove it, but there's nothing to outwardly disprove it either. And it shows once again that he'll ignore any other perspective or possibility, because it doesn't fit his narrative. I said earlier, it's important in debate and drama to consider why someone may think or act the way they do. The person you're arguing with or talking about is still human. They have flaws, they make mistakes, they can act impulsively without much thought. Don't try and make them out to be a villain unless they're doing something truly scummy. Manga Carmen is an interesting fellow. There have been times where his commentaries have not only been clever, but very important in certain discussions. However, after going through his videos, old and new, one thing stuck out to me. Carmen's kind of up his own arse. And by kind of, I mean he could give himself a colonoscopy. Is that unfair to say? Maybe. Maybe it's just his persona. The way Carmen talks and presents himself in his videos makes him seem like that. He doesn't just demonize a person he talks about in his videos. He wants you to know that this person is a complete idiot and that he is definitely way smarter than them. Let me introduce you to Carmen's personal straw man. This little fella pops up and acts as a straw man to varying degrees and then usually gets hurt in some way. What a fair and not at all creepy way to represent a different opinion. Whether the demonizing in the community is intentional or not, what you say, and especially how you say it, impacts how people receive your content the most. It's not just the tone of voice or the language used with Carmen, he also likes using clips that only adds to the narrative of the person's opinion as stupid, and by extension, anyone who may agree with these points.
You are made of stupid.
They also interrupt the already poor flow of his videos. I'm convinced that this is really how Carmen thinks, regarding how he usually portrays himself and how he acts outside of YouTube. If you're arguing a point and in between all of your criticisms is just insults, it makes it hard for the other person or audience to want to listen to you, or differentiate genuine critique from just insults. Why do you think Speechy called videos on her hate videos? You can have a persona, you can have some kind of story you're telling, but you do still have to consider how people interpret your words and actions. I'd also like to briefly talk about this message from Tom's girlfriend.
Tom's low-key an incredible person. When I hear about people like saying he's some evil toxic human, I'm like, incorrect, you don't know Tom then.
It's not just about who a person is, it's how they conduct and present themselves. The impact they put out in the world is externally mostly what matters. Alright, so originally this segment was originally going to have acting over it. Originally what was going to happen was that someone else would do the actual acting and my voice would be put over it, but that didn't work out. Then I tried to do that myself and that didn't work out either. So you're just gonna have to pretend that I'm there and you'll just hear the same voiceover that was gonna be in it originally. Hello there, I'm Shaft Dina, and today I'll be talking about Daft Pina and the influence commentators have on their audience. At the date of this video, Daft Pina has this number of subscribers. He is mainly known for his YouTuber reviews, mainly on Storytime animators such as Speechy, Tabs, and Fox Goodman. Though recently, I went to his channel to rewatch his older videos and found the majority of them were unlisted. I went to check his Twitter and found this tweet. And this tweet makes me respect Darth Pina more as a creator, not only because he did this, but because he acknowledges the issues with the approach to his content. Looking back at the Tabs video, he portrays her as rude and terrible since she did not respond to him, rather than not considering any other perspective. And like most other creators, Darth Pina's content, more specifically the older content, suffers from the perspective dilemma and demonizing the people he talks about. And while it's good that he acknowledges this with the previously mentioned tweet, I feel some videos that are still up suffer from this. The reason I bring this up when this is supposed to be a lesson in influence is because how influence spreads a perspective. I said earlier that a creator does not control their audience. However, when a creator builds an audience, that audience grows to trust and take that creator's word very seriously, which can be especially destructive depending on what you're saying. For example, the Jaden face reveal video, which suffered from these same perspective issues. Even someone like Foster, who made a video on Katsune that was full of misrepresentation, misinformation, and blatant lies, managed to influence an audience into believing that Katsune was someone like Darth Pina, with an especially large audience and reputation. It's very easy for his audience to blindly agree and be influenced by whatever he says, as I was.
Can't do this.
And Darth Pina's delivery may contribute to influencing the audience. To reference Quinn Curio's video once more,
in Handman's review of Daft Pina's channel, he says something that's interesting to me.
This lack of emotion is what a reviewer like him needs. This is because in every review, whether he personally likes the channel or not, he maintains the same tone. He doesn't outwardly express his thoughts through his emotions, just his words. This makes his videos feel a lot less biased. He doesn't give special treatment, he's just a reviewer.
Not to say Daft Pina is actually the most emotional, biased, pointiest boy, he's not. But the script delivery is just the book cover, you need to hear past it. Just like you need to hear past accents or flowery language. Because past that is where the content is. Daft Pina's reviews are more focused than other Storytime critics, but his reviews are not less emotional or more rational because he doesn't yell. The emotional content, mockery masquerading for the creator's benefit, wrapping insults in legitimate or half-legitimate criticism, fishing to make them uncomfortable, acting like they're bad people for ignoring him or being upset with him, the parasocial anti-fan vibrations, the let me in buddying, those are all here. You just need to know what you're looking for.
To reiterate, it's important to make sure that you understand the influence you have on your audience. Some people are more than likely to just take what's given to them and believe it, especially if your content or argument confirms their biases. I would recommend this YouTuber, but only if you can get past his tendency to display some of the same faults as most commentators. Final score if you like numbers is not applicable, since this isn't a review of Darth Pina's channel. Thank you for watching this segment, and enjoy the rest of the video. Or don't. If you're familiar with the commentary community, chances are you know about Foster and Oh My Gosh It's James. Their rise to fame was riding on drama bandwagons, namely Speechy, These two serve as a perfect representation of the worst of the community, and what not to do if you want to be a commentator. Once both of them got their taste of fame, they would do everything they could to stay relevant and retain views, both constantly perpetuating petty drama, even if there was little or misinformation regarding the situation. These two were willing to do almost anything to keep their views up. They would push personal boundaries, misinform people, and even go after one another in some of the most mind-numbingly slow and lazily made videos. James's channel is wildly inconsistent. He tries to hold on to any kind of drama he can milk for views, whether it be going after Speechy, Lazlac, or even TikTok drama. Any chance to spark a petty war of semantics and hypocrisy. Foster recently purged all of his social media, but unfortunately for him, it's a bit hard to forget the moment of his channel where he attempted to expose Katsune in a 2-part video series where he talks about how much of a scam artist Katsune is. Of course, that was all blatant misinformation and was completely debunked by Ponda Sprocket and our resident game theory hater. The video incorporates all the previously mentioned faults. He portrays Katsune as an evil con artist who manipulates her fans, and omits information, ignores any other perspective she might have since it didn't fit into this view of her, and influences his audience and anyone else who watched into thinking this way. Foster and James are complete dunces. The two of them showcase how a channel that only clings to weak drama or bandwagons can easily shrivel away. These channels have absolutely zero substance to them. There is nothing meaningful or of value here. Foster and James are the bare minimum, the dead space, the empty air. They offer almost nothing new to any conversation, acting as an echo chamber for bigger voices like Daft Peanut and Turkey Tom, unabashedly riding their coattails. And when they do say something new, it's blatant misinformation and demonization. These kind of commentaries shouldn't act as news reporters. They shouldn't just be regurgitating someone else's opinion. The video should entertain, it should inform, the video needs to provide something new, it should leave you different than when you started it. I want to explain this with a video I made, and a video my friend Mako Ray made, being my Butch Hartman video, and his Defensive Irony video. While I don't regret my video, and people may still say it was good, I don't think my video has much substance. I didn't make that video to ride the drama bandwagon, but I did end up talking about it in my video. I changed the script to fit into it. My video provided almost nothing new to the situation, and when I did provide something new, no one really cared. It didn't completely lack substance, but it had nowhere near as much meaning or substance as Mako's video. I gained 400 or so subs from my video, and Mako gained over 1,000, despite the video having half the amount of views that mine had. It's because his video provided something new, something interesting, something that made people think about themselves and the people they know. I'm not saying every video ever has to be like this, but a commentary video in particular has to provide something. It can be funny, it can be interesting, thought-provoking, emotional, promote discussion. You should feel something! I watch a video by James or Foster and the only thing I feel is like my time has been wasted. Don't use drama to build your channel. Not only is it unsustainable, it can cause a lot of problems, damage and stress to those involved. If there's one thing I want people to take away from this video, is that these issues within the commentary community make it an incredibly toxic one. Everything I talked about before, not considering perspective, how you prevent yourself and your subject, the influence you have on your audience, and the desperation for relevance all adds up to demonizing and dehumanizing people. Other creators and their problems are reduced to nothing but content, a trend, a fad to milk for attention. It disregards the feeling of the human being on the other side of the controversy, and doesn't allow for them to defend themselves. And under all this pressure, people are going to be upset. They're going to show weakness, they will try and defend themselves and will act impulsively, because they've suddenly got all these eyes on them, judging them and talking about them. Character assassination isn't productive. There is nothing constructive to be had from forcing people into your narrative as the villain. One reason I really appreciated Staxolotl as a commentator was because rarely did he try to demonize people he talked about. For those of you who don't know, Staxolotl was a creator who used to do commentary videos on different YouTubers, also focusing mainly on storytime animators. He really felt like someone who understood and was interested in not just the content, but the creator. He quit his current style of videos for a couple of reasons, namely that he has more passion in different subjects, though I would not be surprised if the toxicity in the community had some part in discouraging him from doing so, especially when considering the video he made on the commentary community. I'm not saying everyone should be exactly like Staxolotl, but they should be able to learn from what he did right. I like quite a few of the more pessimistic commentators. I like Simply Dad, I like Ellis Mark's content, I've got a preference to his animation videos since that's a thing I'm interested in, and he's also not constructing an exaggerated narrative of someone. I appreciate the time and work he puts into animating an art. I enjoy Darth Pina's videos, especially since he understands and learns from his faults more. And I commend him for shedding light on people like Andy Tucker. And from what I've seen, all the people I've talked have the potential to improve on the things I've discussed. Now here's the part of the video where I recommend some great commentators to you. These are either friends or people I just think are cool. Let's start off with Mako Ray. Mako is a creator who very much does his own thing. He discusses topics that really interest or mean a lot to him, so you won't find him commenting on the latest YouTube drama. He has this knack for being able to say something really meaningful and uplifting.
This world and the people in it still value quality experiences enough to reward those who give it their all. But that if I choose to spend every ounce of energy within me to create something precious to me, people might just care about it as much as I do once it's released.
He's just generally a really cool person who's helped me learn a few things about myself. You should give his Mako Says Words About Things series a watch. Next we have X-Ro. While he is moving over to more discussions focused on media and film, he does do commentary and he does a great job at dissecting a situational subject and analysing it thoroughly. He also does a great job with his production quality and his humour is on point. Go donate to his Patreon, he's working on a short film and I know it'd mean a lot to him if you supported it. If I had to name a channel with a strong aesthetic, I would definitely pick Dinkies. I don't think I can properly put into words what makes it so great. The editing is obviously superb, and the visuals combined with Dinky's narration make the video a joy to watch. Dinky is also an incredibly clever person and part of my inspiration for this video. I would just say watch all of Dinky's videos. There aren't that many, but if I had to recommend one, it'd probably be their Minion one, not just for the story, but also because of the great editing and visuals. Now here's someone who I reference a lot in this video, Quinn Curio. I don't really know if commentary is her focus, she's very much an enigma at the moment, but it seems she's mainly focused on media as well. Her first video was about the commentary community criticizing the animation storytime community. It was a long but great video and helped a lot when putting this one together. Also, shoutouts to Veritas Joe. While he mainly focuses on animation for his videos, he's done commentary before, and he's helped out with reviewing the script for this video, along with Mako, X-Ro and Dinky. He's my boy and he's been doing some really cool stuff with his channel, so give him a look too. Thank you all for watching my video. Feel free to call me an NPC libtard cuck in the comments. I've got a Twitter, I've got a Discord, and I also have a tab on the side of my channel that's filled with people who are better than me. Now if you'll excuse me, I'll be talking about cartoons and trying to explain the validity of self-expression by shipping Sonic the Hedgehog and The Little Mermaid. Also raise your standards for editing, Jesus Christ!